Okay, so today we're going to cover G Suite and Google Docs, particularly Google Docs for the most part, but we'll also touch upon the paid-for version of G Suite. It's going to be many different apps outside of just Docs, the one Google app, which is sort of similar to like a word processing application. And we'll talk about some of the use cases, some of the advantages, and then we'll do a quick overview of how I actually use it and some of the advantages that they have. So in the contents, we'll have an introduction of G Suite, the advantages of G Suite, some tips for collaboration. That's one of the nice things about G Suite, and we'll cover that in a sec. Reference points or places where you can get a little bit more info, and then we'll do a quick usage example. So Google Docs and G Suite, it's a cloud-based or browser-based office suite. You'll have everything from your calendar to things like Docs, slides, and sheets, which is the equivalent of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel in the Microsoft Office realm of things. But you also have communication tools. You'll have your email, the Gmail accounts. So it actually is a very full range of features. If you buy the premium version, there's even more things like Google Meet, which is a good conference call application. And you'll have free storage in the cloud, which allows you to easily save and store things in a highly redundant manner. They have other new things like Keep, Forms, which I talked about. There's also a new product called Jamboard, which is like a live whiteboard, which looks pretty cool. All of these are free to use, but they're freemium, so there's always a premium. So if you want to get the extra enterprise features, like if you want to use Gmail, but you want to use your company's name, you need to pay for it. But it's free to use, free to get started with, and can still be very powerful even at the zero cost variant. So the standard account comes with 15 gigabytes available. I think a lot of this is all well known to most users. Anyone who's owned an Android device probably has a Gmail account at this point, and even people who are primarily Apple or Mac users, they probably also have a Gmail account as well. It's just a very convenient and very usable platform. Some questions, particularly if you're a business owner, would maybe be about security. You can read all about the privacy policies at this link over here. So the policies at google.com, and you can read about what the privacy policies are. If I'm going to trust anyone, I want to trust a company which is upfront about the privacy policies, and I personally use Google both for a lot of my personal information. I'm using Google and Google Docs for this tutorial right now, and I'm also using Google on a professional level in my company. So I like it, and I just want to go over it and share some of the advantages to you. So some of the advantages is, it's great for collaboration. One thing which is always a little bit hard to do in Word is you get lots of versions. So someone can edit something or copy something, but it's always copy, paste, copy, paste. So say, for example, I send a Word document to get edited by someone. Then that document, they'll then make either a local copy or they won't change the name, but as soon as I send it back, I'll probably make a separate copy. So we'll have this huge trail of documentations with all the different versions. G Suite allows you to actually manage the versions within the same document, so you don't need to keep making so many different copies of it. It also allows for sort of group usage or group communication. For example, if you wanted to make like something which is similar to a database where everyone can sort of access the same information and update the information, you can make like a Google Sheet, and everyone would have who should have editable access can do so that you have sort of these living documents as opposed to static documents that everyone just fills in their version, but then you can have all these different versions. That can become a really messy workflow, and having everything on the cloud and everything with a single storage space, something which is stored in the same area, really alleviates some of the problems with that usage scenario. So even though things like Docs, Sheets, and slides are sort of the drop-in replacements for Microsoft Office, particularly legacy Microsoft Office, because it's based in the cloud, like the whole workflow changes and becomes a little bit better for teamwork. It's always available, so as long as you have an internet connection, you can always have your work available, and they also have offline versions as well. So if you download the Google Docs app, you can also save a lot of this information offline and can edit it offline. Version history is recorded. I just mentioned that, and I'll show an example in just a second. There's no installation required, so you don't need to have like this lengthy multi-gigabyte thing taking up space. You run everything on your browser. I will say that particularly Sheets seems to take up a lot of memory, so if you have many different Google Docs open, you do need a system with a higher memory footprint to really run all of it. But in general, it's a lot more streamlined and a lot more straightforward. Just get online, log into your Google account, and you're ready to go. Forms and Sheets. This is something which I'm going to talk about in a later tutorial, but Forms and Sheets can be used to automate workflows. You can have a Google form where people fill in information, and then based on that, you can script things in Sheets to automate a lot of stuff. You can do similar things in Microsoft Excel for sure, but it requires using Visual Basic, whereas Sheets, the scripts in Sheets are usually more JavaScript based, and because it's on the cloud already, it becomes very good for these sort of like web applications or drop-in replacements for web applications in order to quickly store and save and manage information. So it's a very good tool to sort of just really get started managing things like customer orders and things like that. And again, it's cloud-based, so it's anywhere. And with pretty much any platform, you can edit things on your iPhone, you can edit things on your Android phone, you can edit things on your PC, your Mac, your Linux device. Anyone with a browser can access it, so it makes it really flexible. So tips on some of the collaboration. Looking at this screenshot here, we can see here's a Word doc with just a bunch of dummy text in it, but you can set up things like over here we have, say, like word choice. Like if you wanted to say, oh, this line of text, I think you could word it better. Or you can edit things. People can make comments directly onto the document. You can do the similar thing in Microsoft Word as well, but again, it becomes a versioning issue. You track something, you accept something that you need to send the document or resave the document and send it back over to other people. This is all sort of live, and it becomes very easy to use. Anyone editing a document who has edit privileges can always switch from editing to suggesting. You can also share documents with only comment level access. If you share something with only comment level access, then the person can only suggest or comment. They can't actually edit it directly. And you can also view all the changes as needed. This is a quick sort of animation, so you can actually see the version changes. You go to the file, and then you go to version history. You can see the version history, so you can see who edited what, who accepted what, and you can track all the changes there. So you don't really need to worry so much about, oh, something got changed and now like the whole entire file is corrupted, or it's something, I lost a whole bunch of information. You can always go back, change it. You can also make copies and go back and then change that and then paste what was missing back in. So there's definitely ways to make sure that you have your data retained. Now there's tons of more info and much more in-depth training about Google Documents out there. Google itself has its own sort of learning center, and I'm going to include a lot of these links both in the blog post and also on the comments section or the description of this video when it goes on YouTube. There's also several third-party applications. There's things like paid for training, like at lynda.com and things like that. There's many places to find more information about how to use Google Docs. The nice thing is that it's very easy to get into. It's very easy to start using. And particularly in the Western Hemisphere, in the United States, Chromebooks are becoming all the rage. So most students and younger people are going to be learning about this anyways. So as long as you're familiar with Word, it's very easy to get started with Google Docs. Even if you're not familiar with Word, it makes these days almost more sense to start using Google Docs before even having to buy and go and down the Microsoft route, unless your business or organization mandates it. And then one last thing that I did want to mention before we go into the tutorial about just basic usage is, this talks a little bit about the privacy, but you can always set your Google account as long as it's not managed by your administrator. For example, you don't have the for paid description, so you have an admin in your IT department who's managing these types of stuff. But if you have a personal Google account, you can always pause and monitor what activity and what things are actually getting tracked. You just go into your Google account and then you can pause all the things that it's tracking on you. And that's another way just to deal with the privacy issues and information. By using free services, you will always sacrifice some element of privacy because these things are not going to be hosted on your own computer. They're going to be hosted on someone else's cloud, and they're giving it to you for free. That being said, you should always be careful with what information you want to share online, and you should always make sure that what you're sharing is something which you, to an extent, can live with being out in the open, in the wild. I think Google does a fairly good job about the privacy aspects. And again, if you have any questions, go to their privacy policy and you can decide what information you feel is okay to go online and what information you really want to keep offline and internally. Just in terms of the usage of it, it's extremely usable. And for any sort of document creation or sort of basic collaboration on workflows, I think it's secure enough for the majority of what people would want to use if they're just doing content creation. Okay. So let's do this. Okay, so here we have just an entry-level video or an opening video of using Google Drive with your set of tools, so you can sort of see how you can access everything. Once you log into your Gmail, you just open up that tab that it was just shown. You can get into your Google Drive. Once inside the Google Drive, you can then create new folders. You can review all of your folders. You can also go through and check how much of your online storage is being used. Clicking New lets you go through and you can make a new doc, a new sheet, new Google Slides, which would be your PowerPoint presentation. Creating a new folder is also fairly easy. So we just say New Folder, then I click Create. Doing so, we have this new folder. Inside the folder, we can create all different kinds of documents. So say I want to make a Word document or an Excel document or PowerPoint. Word document is just Google Docs, the blue one. And then if I wanted to make a new Google Sheet, that would be kind of the equivalent of Microsoft Excel. Google Slides is a presentation platform. So you can go in, we can make a new document. You just work in and you type it. All your tools are at the top. You have everything from your formatting bar to the zoom level. It's all very similar. In some ways it's a little bit more simple than Word, but if you're just doing quick text and quick editing, it's perfectly capable. And you can also download all of this thing as like a PDF. So, and it comes with, your spell check, and you can go in and use that as well. So all these functions are available, and then again, as just discussed, it becomes a really good collaboration tool because it's online and everyone can work and edit off the same thing. Oh, it also auto-saves. That's one other thing I wanted to mention. Everything that you type in a Google Doc will automatically autosave. And if something saves that you don't want it to, you can always undo. If you undo, you can also go to the version history in case you need to go back and change something. That's particularly useful in collaboration. So here we have Sheets. Sheets is the same deal. Everything works as different types of spreadsheets cells, and we can go through and update and fill in everything. So you can see here we can just fill in a quick thing. Click and drag, just like Excel. You can auto-populate numbers. You can use functions. So for example, we can do the rand function. So we can use rand between to just create a bunch of random numbers. Type in a low number, type in a high number. Again, the majority of these spreadsheet functions are almost exactly the same as Excel, and you can just drag and drop and create the random numbers that you need. Then just again, pretty much all the basic spreadsheet functionality that you'd be looking for, you can do it. If you add up all these things, you can do sum and plus, minus, all that stuff. So you should be able to get the idea. Then all this again is automatically saved in Google Drive, so you don't have to worry about it too much, and you can have a fully functional spreadsheet. We'll go into more detail about creating a spreadsheet which has other things like scripting, etc. So all your formatting and things are up there at the top. And in the presentation, so you have a fully functional presentation application. You can create new slides. You can throw in some titles. You can add your subtitles. Again, this is very similar to the Microsoft PowerPoint. Then inside, if you say you wanted to, grab a picture, you can then select it. This is from the GIMP tutorial that we did. You can just put it right in, copy and paste. It's very simple and straightforward. Then we go to the themes. The themes, you can pick all the different themes that you maybe want. So if you wanted a dark theme, or if you wanted some other lighter theme, you could do that. And then clicking at the top here for any of these files, you can change the names of them fairly easily. So you can change it to anything that you want, and then those changes then get reflected in your Google Drive automatically because everything gets saved and updated. All right, so just a quick overview of Google Drive and sort of how it works and how to add files. And thank you all for your time.